Hi, welcome to Think Human. I'm Chris, and in this video, I want to talk about the existential crisis and how to get over existential crisis. So, what an existential crisis is if you truly and deeply start thinking about the nature of reality and the human condition. When you get down to the bottom of it, what we are insignificant, small species that randomly born in a rock somewhere floating in space. It is true we are incredibly small compared to the universe we live in. Our lives literally do not matter outside of any kind of meaning that we give it. Now, religious people might have disagreements with it or whatever, but as it is, as it's on its face, life has no meaning outside of what we give it. Truly, at the end of the day, you can look hard and you can look everywhere where you want, and you just don't find any meaning. That is the start of my depression when I was quite young. I was just looking for a concrete meaning in the world, and the more I learned about the world, the more I started to realize that there is none of that. And then I looked at all of the people walking around, going to work, going shopping, doing whatever they did, and I was like, don't you people ever think about this? Don't you know this? Your life is pointless. Like, of course, one thing is like, who am I to say that? I don't mean it in that kind of way that, they should all die or whatever. I just mean it in a way that objective sense, no one's life really matters. You can't make an argument that lives matter without making some kind of claim that this has to be true and then lives matter. You can't get it from objective reality that lives have any kind of meaning in them. It's just not there. So we're born into this chaotic world. We don't choose where we are born or what neighborhood or what parents. We don't choose what time we're born in. We just wake up kind of. We have a beautiful childhood if all goes well. I know I did. I'm happy with the childhood I had. But then you're thrust into this world of kind of craziness and absurdity of the adult grown up life, which is, you study hard at school and you're reaching the end and you need to decide what do you want to do for the rest of your life. Now, for me personally, I could never decide that, and I still have not decided it. I just couldn't pick anything. But that's the choice that they want you to make, and they want you to get on this job and to do it 5 days a week, 9 to 5 or 8 to 4 or whatever it might be. But it's this constant kind of imprisonment where you have to be in, unless for some few people who are lucky to have jobs that they genuinely enjoy, and that is wonderful. But the idea of that there's just some preset path, and if you're born into this society, this is the path that you have to follow, and you go on this path and you look around and you realize that there is nothing inherently fulfilling about this path that we are all set upon, and then we wonder, why do we get anxious or depressed, or why do we feel like what's the point of going on sometimes. And sometimes it can really hit deep and hard when you start thinking about it, that really at the end of the day, one day we will die anyway. What's the difference if I die today or in like 50 years? If you already get used to the idea, if you already know how to be a happy person and how to deal with living and the human condition, if you already know that, then these words don't bring you down. That the world is objectively meaningless, that life is objectively meaningless. These words won't bring you down because you know that and you're used to it. But there are times when these can really sink in really deeply, and they can just linger in the mind really strongly, and that is existential depression, that you just can't focus on anything else because you know too painfully clearly the absurdity and pointlessness of life, which really is, and it really is there. And I remember it quite painfully clearly, how it was just so painfully obvious that what's the point of anything. So that is one thing. That is some of the aspects of existential depression. And another thing is that how to truly get out of it. I can't speak so sadly, and I can't bring so many examples as I could have when I had existential crisis and existential depression, because I'm out of it now, and I've done a lot of work to see the world in a different way and to create my own meaning. And at first it sounds kind of stupid. Create your meaning, create your own meaning. Like, what's the value of that? That's just me making up some kind of story. And it's true, it kind of is. But what we have to focus on is that what genuinely is fulfilling to you. what do you really want to do? Like for me, when I was really depressed, I was thinking, I wasn't ever suicidal, I wasn't ever thinking of killing myself, but I was thinking I'm as good as dead. Like there is no difference between me now and me being dead, and like I might as well be dead. That were the thoughts that were going through my head, like for real. And so there is an important thing that you need to think about, and this is like what does provide you meaning. Like if you might as well be dead but you're not, you have this opportunity, take it as an opportunity. Like if you will die one day anyway, then none of it matters. Then none of the negativity, none of the anxiety, none of the depression matters. None of it genuinely does matter. None of the bullshit, none of the bad people, none of the bad thoughts, none of it matters, because one day it will all end. So the only thing that could possibly matter, if you don't kill yourself and if you decide to stay alive, and this is a conscious choice that we all do every day, whether we think about it or not, is staying alive, is what good can I get from it then? If I make the choice that I am actually living, what can I do to make it worthwhile for myself? What are the things that do make me feel alive? We all, I hope we all know those moments, when these transcendent moments, when you feel that something is so beautiful or so wonderful or so perfect or so amazing that it's like, this makes it worth it to be alive, this makes it worthwhile. And we should have moments like that, and those moments do exist out there. And I think those moments are the meaning of life, to get those moments. Those moments when nothing else matters and we forget about everything else. And we're just here in the moment and we're doing something that we incredibly enjoy. So I think one of the most important things is to find what we are passionate about. There is something out there for everyone. There has to be something, even if it doesn't seem like it. A lot of people say that, oh, there's nothing I'm interested in. They haven't looked, they haven't tried different kind of things. You have to try, and you have to keep looking around. You have to try and sort of go through it with your brain and see what is the thing that stimulates you intellectually. What is the thing that makes you want to get up out of bed and do something, or work on a project, or learn something, or study a new skill, or meet people, or do whatever you want to do. There is something like that. For me, a large part was the recognition that if you decide to live, then you might as well enjoy it and find something in it. And you know, it doesn't change the fact that we all die, and life is meaningless. No one can say truly objectively that it does have meaning, but there is value in the meaning we create. Like nothing else matters. This is something that we do. It's like, this life is yours, this is your project, this is for you to make what you want to make for it. Like there is no place in fear, there is no place in doubts or hesitation. It doesn't matter. Like there was a time that you weren't born and you didn't exist in this world, and there will be a time when you don't exist in this world anymore either. So this middle time, that is a special time. It's a valuable time. It really is. And each moment that we have, you never get back. It sounds cliche and cheesy, but it's really, really true. To understand that, as well as the meaning that we think, you know, this is a kind of a childish idea, when we really realize it for what it is, the idea of wanting some kind of objective meaning to be in the world. But would you really want there to be some kind of cosmic law that this thing is the meaning of life and it has to be for everyone? Would you really be happy with that? Like really thinking about it, I wouldn't. So long story short, what I think is liberating is that, as well as the good and, you know, what we'd hope that would matter is the life, the essence of us that, you know, gives meaning, that doesn't matter, but neither does any of the bad things. So we might as well really, really enjoy however we can, find something in it to do. And then little by little, if you really start understanding this concept and truly embrace it, that, you know, we will die one day, but that shouldn't be like anything negative. We don't have meaning, but that shouldn't be anything negative. That should be empowering, because that gives you all the freedom in the world. You can literally do anything you want. I've had this discussion with people saying that you can do anything you want, and people impose so much limits on themselves. They like to think in this kind of box that they can't do anything, but literally you can do anything. If you really wanted, you could do anything you wanted. Any crazy thought that you had, you could make it happen. Of course there are limits in, you know, social norms and social acceptance and police laws and these kind of things. Of course there are, but what matters is the idea and the point that you could do. Really, you are free. So if you're deciding to live as a, you know, responsible normal citizen and not kill people or something, that's great, but that's your choice. You don't have to feel like you are forced into it, that you like have to comply. It's your choice consciously. You know that you have the freedom, that you could do anything and you could do otherwise, but we do what's, you know, better for us in the long term. And life is just weird, man. I hope the things that I have been repeating are in some way valuable. Of course it's really personal, and for every single person existential depression is a really different kind of thing, existential crisis. I think it's a good moment to have, and I think it's a valuable moment to have, because it's a moment that gives tremendous amount of perspective on the world, and it does make you see things differently, and I think people should have those moments. But those moments should be moments of self-reflection and recalibration of what kind of path you're on. If you have existential crisis, then that might be a sign that what you're doing at the moment maybe isn't the way that you should go. Maybe there's something else that you can do that's better for you. We should be engaged in life actively, in the things we do and the way we think about it. These are just my thoughts and how I overcame it and how I at least look at it. And I'm sorry for a lot of repetitive stuff that I've been repeating in this video, but these are just my thoughts and stuff like that. So if you have any ideas about this, please share them in the comments. I would be really interested to hear. Quite often the most brilliant and interesting and wonderful and friendly people are people with some kind of psychological issues. The most normal people are the people who say that they're perfectly normal. These are the people you need to stay away from, because that's bullshit. I think it's a side effect of us living in this crazy world and this crazy society that is fundamentally kind of unnatural, that does build kind of weird things and bugs in our minds that we call mental illnesses and stuff. So I don't think it's nothing to be ashamed of or nothing to even worry about. It's everyone has this path and this kind of life that we are going through. It's always for us to figure out. You never know 100% what life is or what you should do. I constantly keep looking back. When I was 16, I looked back at when I was 14. When I was 18, I looked back at when I was 16. When I was 20, I looked back at when I was 18. When I was 22, I looked when I was 20. When I'm 24, I look back at 22, at how stupid I used to be and how much I have changed and grown and evolved as a person. So I think it's a journey that never really stops. We always keep learning, and I think that's the important thing to do, is to keep learning and to keep on this kind of mirror on ourselves of self-reflection, and to truly be honest with ourselves of how we feel, why we feel it, do we want to feel this way, and is there any way we could change it. I think that is really important. As long as you have the drive and the want to grow as a human being, I would say that all is good if you also put some time to it, thinking about it. So yeah, this is just my thoughts on this. If you have any thoughts, please, I would like to hear, share them in the comments. And thank you so much for watching, and take care.